simple. He's looking to try to get to what we call high mount. So slide up. He's trying to get to here to get to this spot, right? Go back. Or if I'm leaning too far to the side, then he's gonna go technical mount and look to grab the gift wrap right off the back, right? So he's looking to get right into his position here, right? If he gets to high mount or he gets to that technical mount with the gift wrap, he wins, right? All I've got to do to win is get one knee back in front of his hips. If I get one knee back in front, I'm out of the mount. I'm working my way back to some form of a guard, right? So maybe I bridge, shrimp, get my knee back in. You know, so we could go that way. We could be here. Maybe I pick his foot up and I get my leg back in front of his hips again, right? That's all I got to do. If I can do that, I'm out of the mount. I've made my way out and I'm working my way back to a guard. So if I get one knee or both knees back in front of his hips, I win. Again, he wins by getting to high mount, with being up high with my arms shelved on his hips. Or if I'm too far to the side, he can go to technical mount and he can get his gift wrap. Does that make sense? All right, so I'm gonna set a clock for a minute. You're gonna have a partner, same person's gonna stay on top the whole time, right? Work the position, work within those constraints, right? Bottom person, you're just working on getting a knee in. You get one or both, you're good. Top person, you're looking to get to high mount or to that technical mount with the gift wrap, right? So when you start, top person, hands on the mat, right? While they get their frames, and then once you say go, you can start moving to go wherever. Let's start with your hands on the mat. Make sense? Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. His frame's in place, right? And he's doing what he's supposed to do, and he's on his side here, right? Which arm is the arm I am most concerned about? His right arm or his left arm?
Right.
Left arm, right? Because that's the elbow that's inside that's going to give me problems. I can get under this elbow, right? I need to get under this elbow, right? As long as I'm squared up to him, I'm never getting under that elbow. Like, it would take just brute strength for me to pull that elbow out, right? I need to create an angle in which to get under that elbow. So when he's here, like, get good frames, yeah, he's here, right? I need to create an angle. Now I can start digging back in, right? So all I did was kick my leg back, drop my hip, get heavy, turn my body so I'm facing this way to create the angle to get inside. Now I can get under that elbow, I can slide up. Now I can slide both up. Now I'm in that high mount. Does that make sense? All right. If he's here and he's on his side and he's not monitoring this elbow very well, anytime I can get my hip behind his elbow, I can go to that technical mount too, right? So as I'm making these changes, if I can push his elbow across and get my hips behind it, now I can make my switch and look for my gift wrap situation, right? So when we're in the spot and I start to make this turn to start digging this out, I'm always paying attention to what he's doing with that arm. He's doing a good job right now where he's keeping his elbow on my hip. So I'm not gonna have that option. But if as I'm digging through here, I manage to get behind that elbow, now I can make the switch and I can come to my gift wrap, right? This is a better spot than high mount, right? So I'm just playing back and forth looking for that opportunity to get to those spots. Does that make sense? Cool. So we're gonna run this again. Now top person, you have a better idea of what to do to get to either your high mount or to that technical mount with the gift wrap, right? So, so be hunting for that. If it, bottom person, same thing. You just got to get a knee back in. Make sense? Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. So now, for the bottom person, when I'm playing this and I get to my frames. So I saw everyone was, doing a good job of trying to move this, trying to do this. We got to use our hips more though from this position. right? So when I'm here, he's obviously, once we start, he's gonna start getting tighter to me and start looking to do all of this stuff, right? So as he's doing that, I wanna start trying to make him shift his weight. I wanna try to get him off balance, right? So I wanna make him widen that base somewhere. He's gotta make that choice if it's gonna be his arms or his legs, you know, and I'm gonna play around to see if I can get some space and get him to shift his weight more to one leg than the other, right? So I do that by creating an angle with my foot, and now I'm bridging towards my left shoulder. All right, I start getting here. If I can get all his weight in this leg, this is an easy recovery for me, all right? So really stay tight, all right? So I'm using my forearm as my wedge. I'm not pushing, I'm pushing with my hips, but I'm using this to control his hips. So as I push, I can start to make this turn, right? Now all his weight's in his right leg. His left leg is light. If my elbow stays on the inside, I can shrimp back against that to open that up, and my knee comes in, right? So my whole goal is just to get him, instead of having his weight balanced in each leg, is to make him shift his weight more to one side than the other. If I can do that, then the light leg is the one I can move. You know, in this case, because I'm pushing him this way, that means my hips can push his leg, right? So again, we're here, like I'm bridging, getting his weight into that leg, and then I'm pushing my hips against his knee, right? I gotta feel that knee to push that knee out. My arms never moved, right? They're in the perfect spot to keep him from following me. And then now I can fill the space. Does that make sense? Cool. So let's run it through again. Now you have a couple more details for the person on bottom and the person on top. And now let's see how it goes this round. All right? Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Right? We talked about making them shift their weight, right? So if I'm able to bridge and get his weight over here, I can start to shrimp, right? But I know as I start to shrimp, like if I don't do a good job of keeping his weight over here, he's gonna shift his weight back to the other side, right? When he does, that's when that little knee elbow escape shows up, right? So I just chain 2 escapes together and I just go back and forth, right? I'm trying to bridge and get his weight up and everything. It's easier to do when he's tighter to me, right? If he's posted on his arms like this, you know, it's harder to bridge him because he's posted, right? But he can't do anything to me while he's posted. He can't go to gift wrap, he can't go to high mount, like nothing's happening, right? So I don't have to get all nervous and start trying to force things. Because if I try to move him, right? So timing's everything, right? I don't need to do anything right now. I'm not in danger, right? If it's a points-based tournament and you're behind and you got to get out, this is when we trap the arm, right? I'm going to collect that arm, bridge, roll, get to the top, right? If it's sub only, I really don't want to come to top side and be inside somebody's full guard. So I really don't want to bridge and roll because I don't want to deal with that. So I'll just sit here. Eventually he's going to start attacking something. Like he's not getting anywhere just sitting here. The moment he starts to try to attack something, now I can start moving him and getting his hips shifted and getting his weight shifted. Does that make sense? Right? So some of this too is understanding, you know, the timing of all of this. You know, so when I'm here and I see his hands on the mat, like I'm really not worried about doing much, you know, because he's gonna start attacking me somehow, some way. Yeah, you know, he'll start trying to flatten me out, do all of this, right? As he starts to flatten me out and do that, like that's when his legs start to become light. It's really hard to be heavy in your upper body and your lower body at the same time, right? So if he starts clinching me with his upper body, makes his upper body heavy, his lower body's light. I can move his legs around. If I can bridge him, put all his weight on one side, his other side is light, I can push against that and get back to guard. Does that make sense? Right? So And again, if we're here and he is based out on those arms and I just can't get anywhere, you know, if it's a points-based tournament and I've got to get out anyway, like I've got to figure something out. Like the simplest answer here is grabbing this arm, you know, so I'm going to shoot over and I want to go elbow to elbow. All right, this is where I want to be when I shoot this. I'm going to pull this in and I'm going to trap his elbow. If I trap his elbow, he can't post. Right? If I'm up on his shoulder, he's going to post. Right? So when he's posted out on this and I decide to go for that, when I'm bridging, I make sure he puts weight in this arm. Because if he doesn't have weight in it and I go for it, he's just going to pull it out. Right? But if I'm bridging him, his weight's in that arm. If he pulls it out now, I sweep him. Right? So now I can grab it. Now I can bridge and roll. Does that make sense? Right? So we're taking advantage of where he's going to have to shift and move his weight. Right? We talked about this from the top. Like if I'm narrow with my legs because I'm keeping control there, I have to be wider with my arms, especially if they're bucking and moving and rolling, right? So if I go wide, then they have to have an answer for that. So in this case, we're putting all the weight in the arm, we're grabbing it while it's heavy, so we can't move it, and then we can bridge and roll, right? So, so I want you to think about chaining those escapes together and see if that gives you, better success, right? Lay down for me. For when you're playing the top, when he has his frames and he's here. So one of the big things is this little knee elbow escape right here. And I'm sure people are catching this on you right from the start, right? Hit it, right? And they're sliding right out. The way I stop that when I'm here is I just put the bottom of my foot on the top of his thigh and I point my knee out, right? Do your knee elbow escape. Right? If my knee is on the mat, my foot is light. He can slide right underneath, he can trap, he can start beating my knee. So I get my knee off the mat and I put my foot on him. So now when he tries to go gather my foot, there's nothing there for him to catch. Right? And as he goes to move to try to get it, he moves my own foot out of the way where he can't grab it. Right? Cool. So let's run this again. Play with those details. So bottom person, try to chain some of those escapes together. Think about where they're putting their weight. If they're posted on their arm and it's heavy, we can trap, bridge, and roll. All right. If their weight's in one side of their hips, that means I can shrimp to the other side and get my knee back in. Or if they shift back, I can hit that knee elbow escape and get out that way. Right. So I'm always just trying to move and shift and force them to change their weight so they're not just like this over the top of me, right? When they're balanced and on both knees and both hands, it's really hard to get out. I got to start making them shift side to side to start finding my way out, right? Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. So now he made it to mount, but this time he has an underhook, right? So he just has one, has that arm. So we're gonna start from here, right? So what do you think the first thing is I have to do?
Get your arm back?
I gotta get my arm back, right? As long as he has my arm and has this underhook, it's gonna be really hard for me to escape. There are certain things I can do. If he's lazy with his elbow, I can trap, bridge, and roll. But if he knows what he's doing, he's not gonna let me hit that. He's gonna keep his elbow wide so he can start walking that arm up, right? So now it becomes one of those things where, again, timing is everything, right? So when I'm here, like if I've messed up and he's gotten this, it's gonna be hard to get to my side because he has the underhook, right? He can use that underhook to flatten me back out and use chest pressure and everything to keep me here, right? So it's gonna make it hard. So I want to make my turn to that side, but I want to do it at the right moment, right? Like if I try to bridge him now and suck my elbow in, like it's hard to get my elbow back in, right? So what I want to do is I want to wait until I can get his elbow really wide, right? So if he's just content on sitting here and holding me, then I'm gonna have to bump him, several times get his elbow wider so I can suck my elbow in. Most of the time when it's live, when he has this, what's he gonna do with it?
Yeah, head on.
All right, so I know he's gonna walk it up. So the cool thing is as he's walking it up, he's gonna hit an angle right there that if I bridge him right now, it's almost impossible for him to keep my elbow. All right? So this is a timing situation, right? We're here, he's gonna be trying to walk that up, right? As soon as I feel it basically get right above 90 degrees, this is the moment I've gotta go. And I've gotta go quick because right here is also where my shoulder becomes, not so strong. So as soon as he breaks that 90 degree, he's gonna be trying to shove that arm across as quick as he can. Right? So I'm living on the razor's edge here. So it's one of those things, I'm giving just enough resistance to slow this down. Right? I'm not trying to overcome it. I'm just trying to slow it down as I start to make my turn. And then I bridge and get my elbow back in. And now I can start making my way back out. Right? So we're gonna start here. He's got the underhook. He's got head control. I just have the single frame in. Notice how I'm still down with this leg, because this is the side I want to turn to. If I pick my knee up, he can now grapevine me. He can do this stuff, and now I can't turn at all. Right? I can't let that happen. Right? And that leg has to be flat so he can't get underneath it. I don't care if he's under this one. This one doesn't stop me from doing what I want to do. This one will. All right? So if you mess up and you bring your knees up, top person, grab the grapevines, see what he's doing with his feet. He hooks onto my legs. Right? He can start making this hard and he can follow me around. All right? If this happens to you, I've got to kill it. So I can get back to my spot. Right? And the game's going to be simple. He's trying to get this arm across. If he gets the arm across and his head to the outside, he wins. Like, we're not even going to worry about finishing the choke right now. Right? He just has to get my arm across. If he gets that, if he gets to here, or if I try to bridge and turn away and he goes technical mount, goes right back to his gift wrap, then he wins as well. Right? For me, it's the same thing. I just got to get a knee back in front. All right, I get a knee back in, mount is over with, all this attack is dead. He can't head and arm me with my legs in the way. It's not possible. All right? So my whole goal is to get this elbow back. As I get that elbow back, I'll also be paying attention, because as I bridge to get my elbow back, his hips are light. So I can make my escape. Make sense? All right, so we're gonna play from the mount. You have under the head, under the arm. All right, so with your arm position for the person on top, when you get the head and the arm, right? Just make sure your elbow's not real tight so they can't just grab this right away, right? So you're out here a little bit, so you're based, right? So that they can't collapse your arm, right? That's where you want to be, right, to start with. And then from there, you're trying to walk it up. See how he walks it up? He uses the friction of the mat. So every inch he gains, he's now connected to the mat and makes it harder for me to get my arm back. If he picks his arm up off the mat, I can overpower him. But because of the friction of the mat, he can win this one-on-one battle, right? He just gets inch by inch by inch by inch, and then he's over. Does that make sense? All right, let's do it. 3, 2, 1.